Okay, all right. Woo! We are here. We are here and we are ready. Hello, 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 hello. It's been a long time. How long has it been since I last streamed? I don't even know. Let's see. Um, December 18th. Wow, almost 2 months. It's been a long time. Hello, hello everyone. So after my long break, I am finally back and ready to get into streaming again. And we're starting off with doing game dev interviews. If you follow me on my social media, then oh, thank you for the follow. If you follow me on social media, you know that I've been wanting to do these game dev interviews for a little while, and finally I scheduled some for the month of February, and I'm very excited. And yeah, if you don't know me, I'm the Chosen Giraffe, aka Sid. I am a writer, voice director, and game dev. I also love streaming, and I love streaming story based games and rhythm games, sometimes horror if I like to torture myself. But yeah, let me go ahead and introduce our first guest. They are an award winning bilingual storyteller with over 10 credits as a narrative designer and writer. During their several years in the industry, they have created authentic Latin American stories based on their personal experience. So let's go ahead and meet Andrea. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Andrea.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Wait,
How's it going?
hold on. Can everyone hear them? Is it good? Is it good?
Is it good?
Is it great?
Chat, is it amazing?
Is
Is it
it
wonderful? Spectacular?
amazing? I think it's popping up, or your voice is working. It looks like it's registering.
All right.
Yay!
Thank you so much for that.
I guess we'll start off by you introducing yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Andrea and I do narrative design, QA, and a little bit of organizing here and there. In essence, I just like to both uplift storytellers and then also uplift Latin American narratives and ensure that they are told in an authentic manner, which is why I pretty much have dedicated my career to just being in the room where it happens per se and making sure that the representation of communities is not misrepresented at all and rather stays true to what it actually is.
Yes, that's amazing. We need more of that. We need more authenticity in the game dev community. That's awesome. Um, I guess I would like to talk about what your idea of narrative design is. Let's start off with that.
Oh yeah, hey, what do you think about this one career that everybody wants but there is no definition of? Of course. Yes. Narrative design is, I know this seems repetitive and redundant, but it is designing a narrative and marrying the technical side of implementation with the game writing component of it. So you in my eyes, I think that as a narrative designer, you need to know the creative writing part of it, the
Mhm.
script writing part of it, be it how to write cinematics, be it how to write a story, character, plot,
Right.
world building, all of those things. But you need to know the game engines and how to implement all of that content because unfortunately, a lot of studios cannot really decide on what narrative design is.
Right,
So
right.
sometimes they will have a job description where it says that the title is game writer, but then expect you to do everything that a technical narrative designer should be doing, not you.
Right.
And at that point, you've accepted the job, you gotta, get that money, secure the bag. So of course you gotta girl boss it somehow, go on
Right.
LinkedIn and learn how you need to learn an engine from scratch, very easy. So that's sort of like what narrative design is to me. It's game writing and technical in one.
Right, right. Which I feel like when people do get into narrative design, I know I felt this way. I was like, oh God, I need to learn coding and I need to learn how to do all this stuff. And it was like very overwhelming. So, did you like feel that that pressure and how did you handle that pressure?
Oh yeah, so picture that pressure working in a AAA studio and not realizing that you gotta implement the content.
Right, right.
Let that sink in for a minute, right? So, listen, nothing but good things from my experience in AAA, to be honest, which I know stems from a privileged place because not often can people say that.
Mhm.
But the people were very nice, developers were super nice. Now, in the company there was an in-house engine, so you couldn't
Mhm.
go on LinkedIn to find out how to implement it. Instead, I just asked for help, which seems like a lot, but it's fine to ask for help. The thing is, when you add the component about sort of like, being like from a Latin American family and not being used to that, it can be a little more difficult than most people expect. So I just asked programmers about sort of like walk me through what I have to do to implement this content. And then within, like a little bit, that was pretty much it. And I
Mhm.
managed to implement the content of a lot of stories into the game engine that was custom there.
Right. So asking for help. Helping
Yeah,
each
just
other
ask for
out.
help.
Sometimes
Nobody was born knowing how to implement.
right, exactly, exactly. All right. Let's go on to the next question. So, do you have a biggest inspiration and if so, how do you use that inspiration in your work? It can be a person, it can be a game, or it can be like an experience or anything like that.
Inspiration. Um, my mom.
Mhm.
She just hustles very hard, and I feel like generally speaking, it's like when there's so many hours in the day that you can definitely render it efficiently. And I sort of just go about it and remember like how hardworking she is, and just try to also implement that work ethic into everything I do. And regarding sort of my inspiration, I make it it's almost like a philosophy of mine. Do not ever put on a pedestal either a developer, a person, period, or a studio.
Mhm.
So I personally believe that I don't really have like say like somebody who's like, oh my god, they're so amazing.
Right.
But like in like they're almost godlike, right? Instead it's more so like I take inspiration from so many developers that it feels like my game development experience is a mosaic,
Mhm.
right? Of just sort of like drawing pieces from all of these amazing femme and gender nonconforming developers. Off the top of my head, Chantal Ryan, who's leading the development in Dark Web Streamer, Alina Madsen leading the development at Glossbird, Belinda Garcia, one of my mentors in Crystal Dynamics,
Uh-huh.
Katie Canning, and Shark Mob. Um, let's see, Kat Manning leading the like narrative and Firaxis, and so many others that I can go on and on where you notice like, hey, that's very cool what they did. Let's see how I cannot plagiarize it, but rather how can I add a little bit of Andrea-ness to it?
Right,
Do you know
right,
what I mean?
right.
Right? So again, I don't idolize any of them, but I do respect how good they are at their craft.
Right.
Carla Reyes is another one. Joanna is a Joan. Like, there's also so many just from like our group of friends, right?
Mhm.
Um, that I could go on and on.
I think it is like very like when I first got into the game dev community, I was super shy, but it was also like so inspirational seeing all these people who felt like similar to me and seeing them create such great things and I was like, "Wow, I can do this too."
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why there's even more women who are Latine that I think inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
to sort of like um be better, just because it's one of those where to see change and to see like our narratives be represented accurately, we need to kind of like be in the room, but to be in the room where it happens, you kind of have to be up top, unfortunately.
Right.
Because I'm just like, being like a narrative director or like leading IP, that's gonna take so long. uh but also it's kind of like, I know that there's already women that are doing it,
Right.
right? So that just kind of like pushes the boundaries and lets you know like, hey, that, crazy thing that you dream of, it's definitely possible and you can absolutely achieve it. It's just going to take a lot of work.
Right.
Like Cristina Amaya is the president of Latinx in Gaming, like one of the largest nonprofits, but in the same way that Rome was not built overnight, that nonprofit was not built in one night either.
Right, right. And I feel like that has been one thing that has like kept me motivated, especially like right now it's very very frustrating to be in game dev, but like seeing all these people still working hard and like still building up to what they want to be is just like keeps me going. Gives that motivation.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next question. Going off the inspiration because it kind of goes hand in hand. How did you get into your line of work?
um let's see. I was actually talking to somebody else about it, and I realized that I've just loved narrative design for so many more years than I initially thought. It can, it all started with Little Big Planet, the first game. So Little Big
Mm-hmm.
Planet, I'd love to just create levels with my younger brothers because I have younger brothers that are twins. And we would just play around, playing the levels of other people in the same way that now, like, if, we made like a visual novel, then it's sort of like, I can play it, but then I can sort of like play any visual novel that you make, right?
Right.
So that same component was done, but in Little Big Planet at a much lesser scale. And I was also like a huge League of Legends fan, but I was not good at the game, nor am I good at the game even decades later. However, I did spend an embarrassingly long time just reading the lore,
Right.
and being fascinated by these, worlds, and like, because the IP of Runeterra is huge, right? Because you have the
Mm-hmm.
stories in Ionia, you have the stories in Demacia, so on and so forth. And now with Arcane, it's even larger and it's going to be expanded upon from, what they have said. That to me sort of like made me realize that I liked stories. Um, and then when I try to like find people like me in games, as in, like in characters, they would just have this Spanglish that you could tell was not written by somebody who had Spanish as a native
Uh
language.
huh.
Um, where, for example, like the um, hello compadre or something like that. Do some people say that? Absolutely. Generally speaking, not really. um, so then I got to college, and at that point in time, I wanted to write for graphic novels and do sequential art. And in my first year, the Michael Lewis Foundation went to the college, and they did this collaboration with, I know it's gonna sound redundant again, uh, an entity of the college called the Collaboratory, now called Index. So what that means is that Ringling College had this entity called the Collaborative. It was an incentive because they were aware of the myth of the starving artist. You don't have experience, but you need experience for the job. So how do you get experience when you cannot get experience? Like that
Right.
cycle, they wanted to break it. So what they would do is they would partner up with foundations and clients that were like real life clients, pay the students to work with them so that they can have that on their resume. The Michael Lewis Foundation wanted students to pitch games, and I was known as like the writing person because even then I had no idea what narrative design was.
Mm-hmm.
So I became the writing person of, a pitch, and pitched in 2018 for the first time. And ever since then, I went to game jams, networked, found mentors, and found out about narrative design. I want to say that through perhaps either Twitter or like my hours on Discord was that I realized about Latinx in gaming. And from them, other organizations that sort of like just helped Latin American developers. And that's pretty much how I got around just game jam after game jam after game jam um, to get that resume going. Um, and here we are.
Yeah, the common game jam experience where you just do them over and over and over until you have like enough for your resume.
Yeah.
um okay, so what are some things that you love about the industry?
Some things that I love about the industry are the people and how stubborn and insane we are. I love
Right.
that so much. Because think about it for a moment. We wake up, we see news that are not exactly the happiest,
Mhm.
and yet we persevere. The
Right.
horrors persist, but so do I should be the motto of every game developer on earth, where we are stubborn enough to persevere amidst the how volatile everything is right now.
Mhm.
And a lot of game developers have that, or like that I've noticed sort of like in communities and whatnot, they have like their regular 9 to 5 and are doing their damnedest to transfer from like their non-gaming job to a full-time gig as like a game developer. And I don't know if people comprehend like the level of grit, tenacity, and perseverance required for you to wake up, go to a 9 to 5. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't, and then spend your nights in game development, learning, networking, connecting with people, working on your portfolio, working on your resume,
Mhm.
attending portfolio reviews, resume reviews, seeing that feedback, implementing it, and then rinse and repeat every single day.
Right, right.
That takes a lot.
Right. I think you mentioned how people will see the news and then they'll like keep working because there have been a lot of layoffs recently, and I think it's kind of, I don't want to say spite because that has like a negative connotation to it, but it is kind of like spite where it's like I'm going to work hard and I won't let this news get to me and I will have my spot in the game industry and I'll keep working so this doesn't happen, you know? So it's like that strong motivation, the perseverance to keep going and to not let like any of the news get to us. And I do think that's like a good thing that I've also noticed about the industry is how people react to the news. They're upset, but then they keep going, you know?
Yes, and even more so, they find solutions.
Right, right.
Um, because right now, I'm attending the meetings for the unionizing strategy committee, like the Game Developers Guild um,
Mm-hmm.
strategy meetings, because you can set up a meeting with Chrissy Felmeth, who's leading the effort. If you have any questions about unionizing, if you are currently in a studio and you want that to have its own union, you can call Chrissy. Or if you just want to know, hey, where are we at, boss? Like, what's the timeline? You can also ask about that because yes, we see those news, but then we also have people in like behind the scenes working very hard, where it's like a lot of them are people that were recently affected by that, and
Mm-hmm.
still they rather, like, of course you mourn because there's no other way to describe it,
Right,
and then you kind of like pick yourself up from the ground and say, let's fucking unionize, and here's how we're gonna do it.
right. Uh,
Because there's so much support too, just like as Monahan was mentioning.
right. And off of that, off of like getting support for unionizing and the layoffs. What are some
Mhm.
resources for folks affected by the layoffs?
Um, I hate the phrase that I'm about to share. However, if you go to my LinkedIn, I don't want this to be a plugin, but at the very top in the featured, if you scroll past the coffee and all that, there should be game writing resources, game development, job searching resources, and also there are, let me see, let me remember. There's an entire Canva presentation with because those include around 17 or 16. We also have a Discord server which is called Renaissance Hat Productions. And so we have bots that regularly, take from four different sources right now. And it's not just, the game writing, um, you know, um,
Right.
it's not just the game writing resources. These are for all developers. That's something that a lot of people actually got to the server and then they were like, oh, I thought this was for everybody. And I'm like, it is.
Right.
It is. It absolutely is. Because Javiera Cordero had, if on her Twitter, she has a Notion page where you can basically have a Kanban board for your jobs, um, where you track, are you preparing? Are you applying? Were you rejected? Were you accepted? And then if you click on the ticket, you can also see more information like who do you know regarding this job? Who can give you a referral? What's the job description? What's your cover letter? So it's very organized and thorough. So go to Javiera Cordero's Twitter. That's a resource that I have in all of my documents. Um, let me think more. I also recommend focusing on Grackle HQ because not to throw shade like in the I guess job helping sphere or something. However, hitmarker.net, they have a good community and I've actually gone to their networking events and although they are more Europe based, sometimes their jobs have a bit of a delay to them. Grackle HQ is very like on time, very timely.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing too about the Renaissance Hat Productions Discord server is that we have a job like a bot that is connected to like a game design slash programming Discord server, and it has like projects. And what I mean by that is there's people who go, hey, I want to expand on my project from a game jam, and I'm willing to pay an engineer, a programmer, a Unity, programmer,
Right.
X amount of money. Is it the rate that an engineer or a programmer deserves? Not really, not at all, actually. However, is it enough to get somebody affected by layoffs through just a little bit, like to help, to alleviate a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of that pressure? Yeah, I do think so. So we can drop it in the here.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, I don't think I have the links turned on. If you do exclamation point collab, it will show your link tree, and then people can click on that and go to your LinkedIn, and it shows all your socials. So,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Next question: what is your dream work? Like one that you would just absolutely love to do?
I think the project that would be a dream to work on is one that lets me express Latinidad like authentically,
Mm-hmm.
with no filter, just sort of like being staying truthful. That may or may not be a project that I'm working on.
Ooh.
Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But on a serious note, per se, it would be a mixture of things that my dream project is not per se with a particular studio but more with people.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people that are would be a dream to work on. Some of them are actually in the chat and they know who they are. Uh, so there's working with them, absolute dream. Working with a few people that I mentioned earlier, where it's like, that mosaic of inspiration,
Right.
that would be a dream to work with. And tapping on two subjects, I think would be fascinating at, I'm talking like a grand scale,
Mm-hmm.
which would be a challenge, of course. One of them being Latinidad, of course. The second one is a more tricky one, and it's the exploration of religion from an academic viewpoint. Because I'm
Ooh.
not very open about this, but I have a certification from Harvard on religion, peace, and war journalism. So it's fascinating as a former Catholic to sort of be able to read the scripture and just because I consider myself agnostic and I respect all faiths, but I think that there is so much content uh from the scripture that would be fascinating. I'm talking like the like biblically accurate angels,
Right.
right?
Right.
Cherubims, the principalities, examining, there's a theory about the seven lords of hell that a lot of, games have already tapped into, but I I think that people can go more in depth, and yeah,
Right.
that's all.
I think games like those that bring in real life influences, cultures, and like teaches you about it, I just absolutely adore games like those because they're always so interesting and you're learning something as you play, which is amazing to me. And that brings me to my next question perfectly. How does narrative design tie into instructional design?
Yeah, so this is one that I kind of dropped, of course, because I am almost like the instructional design messiah of the gaming industry, and I'll tell you why for a couple of reasons. Instructional design, the way that I describe it is, if anyone has ever gone through a simulation of, um, for like, human resources purposes, like what is Title IX, and here you are navigating it and how to avoid it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those simulations, um they're in essence a corporate twine game.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that instructional design, objectively speaking, and I'm sorry for bringing this out, is not having the amounts of layoffs that the gaming industry is having. So there's a concept in video games which is fatui. I know it sounds very cute and weird, but it's first time user experience. Instructional design helps you with first time user experience, which is designing the tutorial and knowing what is the user going to do, um, what are they going to explore, and what type of approach from both an instructional and narrative design point of view are you going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to like guide them with your hand all the way throughout the level, or are you just gonna let them just kind of like be and just kind of like explore, and then that, by just exploring, is how they are going to figure out what the controls are. So
Right.
instructional design helps a lot with that, and then apply sort of like, the storytelling and narrative part of it, and that is how they tie together.
Amazing. All right. So, on to the next question. What are some hobbies of yours that you use in your work, or do you usually like to keep your hobbies and work separate?
So, it's very difficult, like when you are implementing dialogue into a CSV, it's very different than play the ukulele. So ukulele, I have the Spanglish on by accident. But yeah, I think I was actually telling Sorios in the chat here and like a bunch of people in the server that as much as I love poetry and I have published poems, which is a hobby of mine at this point, I don't really want to show it because monetizing one's hobbies in this capitalist society does not it's not just financial monetization that can happen. You can also monetize it through fame. So, for example, I was too young when I got into social media. I got into social media when I was like I'm not kidding, Sit. I had 1,500 followers at age 13
Oh
in
no.
Instagram because I was like I still am an artist. I have like my sketchbook right in front of me, but every now and then I will tap into art because it, causes joy, kind of like the Marie Kondo approach of it.
Right.
But I'm at a point where I can come to terms with like I don't care how many people like this piece of art. It's for me,
Right.
and
Right.
it happens that it's for me and it's gonna help a project. For example, if I do it for a game jam. But generally speaking, I would draw something when I was 13, post it, and then look at all the likes that I got. Oh, I didn't get as many. Oh, why did this one get more when it took less effort? So that's one way that subconsciously you can accidentally monetize your hobbies, which
Right.
is why, of course, like when I'm writing, my quotidian life is going to sleep in. Every now and then I sort of like slip in an anecdote that is a little bit similar to what happened to me, either throughout the day or in the other week, or this Floridian memory I have back when I was in that state. um they just kind of slip in. That's very natural.
Mm-hmm.
But hobbies in and of itself, I play the guitar and it's mainly music. um More than anything, reading a lot.
Reading. Yeah. Yeah.
Reading. I'm at a point where I have to read nonfiction because I majored in creative writing, and I've told my friends like I am so sorry, but I cannot read YA anymore.
Oh my
I
gosh.
open up the page. No, I open up the page, and I'm not making it up. I'm sorry if this is a hot take for the chat, but I open up a page and I can predict the entire three books. They're going to meet up in the first one. There's gonna be a messy breakup in the second one, and either they have a happily ever after or someone dies.
I feel like that's
It's
something like that I've noticed too. The more I write and the more I try to read like creative writing, I'm like, oh, I know what's gonna happen here. but it
Yeah,
that's why I've also switched to like nonfiction to like give my brain a, a break from reading creative stuff.
yeah. So it's like because one morning, and it has to be a very specific nonfiction, because my husband and I, we woke up one morning and it's like, hey, why don't we start our mornings by having a cup of coffee together, breakfast, and you can read a book. And I'm like, you know what? That sounds so romantic every morning. Let's do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
grab a book about the Incas, that I had, and then I am, going through the pages. Mind you, this is written by Peruvian
Mm-hmm.
authors, okay? And they say like, so a navigator undertook, and I'm like, was this really a navigator who undertook a city? And one, how did they undertake the city? Um, Also, was it a navigator, or was it somebody whose title begins with con and ends with quistador? Right? Because nothing. Also, my husband's a historian. I don't think you understand like the insult to the household that book
mm-hmm.
holds. So now I have to be very selective. And did I wake up in the morning and start reading a book about narrative design? Yes, because nonfiction now has me mad, and I have to be selective. If
uh,
anybody has any recommendations for like, anti-colonialist history books, please drop them in the chat or my DMs if you know my Discord. Um I'm desperate.
what are some narrative design books that you are reading right now?
There's the Proc Jam storytelling one by Tanya Eds Short. Uh the writing for games by Hannah starts with N, I think. And I think the other one is a what was the I actually got it on Kindle. It was released more recently, and I think by Anna McGill, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it'll get to me. But I do. So actually, speaking of resources, I believe that in either the documents, I do have a Amazon list of narrative design and game development books. To help out other game writers or game developers, and they don't have to. How do I say? A lot of them look at it on Amazon and then thrift them.
Right, right. All right.
Is it?
Next question. Um, I actually wanted to talk about this because I was also excited about it and um, wanted to uh, talk more about it. Tell me about Small Loan Studio.
Okay, so Malum Studio is a collective of game developers who, for the most part, are very entry level. However, we do have a structure in place to be able to achieve games of a larger scope than most people would with like less people involved. And of course, it's the nightmare for every project manager out there. Um, the way that Small Loan Studio started, I think, is a good way to describe what it is. And it was that I simply asked who wanted to do a game jam
Right.
and, a Discord for the narrative department. And 24, 20 something people were interested. So for the most part, a lot of these folks had transferable skills. We had people like Rob who had decades of experience in QA.
Mm-hmm.
Lily had decades of experience in Hollywood. Who else? Cam has experience managing projects, but more so for events, from what I understand. Nat has, project management experience, I believe. So on and so forth. We all had people who had been in other game jams, but not a studio.
Right.
So, um, I have experience as I am a writer from Firaxis formerly. There was a layoff, and bada bing, bada boom, here I am. We also had an artist who had experience being an artist for liquid development. So those are the only two people in the entire team that had experience from AAA per se. Uh, and we developed Santa's Secret during the Winter Visual Novel Game Jam. Um, for I think it was hosted by Dev Talk. We had
Yeah. Yeah.
processes in place. Yeah. So we went a little bit extra, obviously. We had a Notion board that had a timeline, Kanban board. We had a project timeline for sound design, programming, QA testing, narrative design, obviously, and art. Obviously, there were hiccups along the way, but in essence, it's a collective of many developers who wanted to come together. A lot of them are actually tuning in right now, and it was a great experience. I just had so much fun because I think someone asked me at some point, like, what was your vision with this? And I'm like, honestly, I just wanted to help out people and like have them like in this space where they could learn because uh there's many obstacles when it comes to being entry level. And when I say entry level, I mean like you have never touched an office in a studio, or you have never been remote, even remotely,
Mm-hmm.
in a remote modality in a studio. Because what happens is that when you make a mistake and say you get like that AAA job that's entry level of your dreams, if you make a mistake, it's because you don't know the game development pipeline,
Right.
right? So I wanted to give them a bit of like a taste, like, like the tip of the iceberg of what the organized chaos of a game development pipeline is like. So we had a bit of a hierarchy. I hate that structure, but when there's a project of that scale, it's necessary, unfortunately. So we grouped people up in, so here are the sound designers, because by the way, every narrative designer that I know is a multi hyphenate that companies are missing out on. Everybody can do more than one thing aside writing, and it is amazing to
Right.
see the talent pool that there is, especially in small owned studios. And this applies to every single one of the 30 plus people in that server right now. And so we had people that focused in marketing, people that focused in sound design, people. Monahan actually was our main sound designer who went off. Um, yeah, and let's see. Empathetic Poetics was our generalist who did like QA testing, production, programming, writing, and editing. I'm not making this up. So again, they do a little bit of everything, but at its core, people were like, in groups, and we still had a lot of writers, so we split them between editors and narrative designers. Then there was like leads for each of these teams, just so that we had somebody that was like overseeing. For narrative, we needed three leads because it was just too much for one person.
Right.
And we got a game out in a month. I think it has 2 hours of content
Honestly,
in
it
a month.
was amazing to see, knowing like how visual novel jams work and like how different they are from other game jams. I was so surprised to see everyone like come together and get it out, and with almost like no hiccups. It was pretty great to see.
Yeah, we're also working for some we're working on patches because we got a lot of feedback. We got a lot of, from players, people downloading it. It's been amazing to see because it's to the point where I have gone into networking events, and whenever like I bring up Small Loan Studio and Santa's Secret, and of course I go like, and hey, no pressure, but if anybody wants to download it, feel free to do so. And people go, oh, I already have downloaded it.
Right.
And it's not just anybody, by the way. Like, I think I almost fainted when I heard David Gallagher, who's, like creative director, senior writer, this and that, just kind of like say very casually. Not only did he download it, but because it was a genre that he liked, in this networking event, he told an entire group of game developers why he liked Santa's Secret so much.
That's amazing.
I was shooketh.
Okay, and on to our next question. What is one thing you are looking forward to in the future?
Uh, there's this very small gathering of game developers. I don't think anybody has heard of it. It's called Game Developers Conference. Again,
Oh,
it's very
right.
niche.
Yeah, very, very
Um,
tiny, very small.
yeah, it's so tiny. I mean, nobody knows about it. And two things are happening where I am very, very happy to have had a scholarship cover all of the costs for it. I'm still in awe that it happened, so very happy about that. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to some projects in the vicinity, upcoming patches of Small Owned Studio, and I can't shut up about it, but like seeing my brother who's in LA, because I haven't seen him in a while. Again, it's like this, full circle moment of like my brothers were there when I started just getting into like Little Big Planet, and that's how I got into narrative design. And now in this career, I've gotten to a point where I can go to the biggest game developers conference in the world, apparently, and also be able to just sneak in a little visit.
Right, right. It sounds super fun.
Yeah.
I will now open the floor, and any questions that anyone in chat has, feel free to ask them, and we will go through them.
Yeah. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions since they know me. Um, but I mean, it's not often that there is, I guess, an narrative designer who's gone through the ring and stuff. So if you have any questions, what was
What?
for breakfast this morning? Okay, I see the call out. Actually, I'll let you know that I did have breakfast this morning. Once again, 2 eggs, cayenne, pepper, and salt. Because we season in this house.
We season in this house. A good breakfast.
Just because I married a white man does not mean that I will leave unseasoned for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. Top 5 games. Hmm. Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem, Fire. I'm kidding. Partially. Let's see. Haven't thought of a top 5 list, so I'd say that number 5, probably Halia. 4, Little Big Planet. 3 would probably Fire Emblem Awakening. Number 2 would be uh uh hmm Mortal Kombat Edge, just because it brought me a husband. And number 1 because it's fucking amazing. Fire Emblem Three Houses.
That's a
Because
good one.
again, yeah, did we play through it and each got a husbando and a waifu? Absolutely. And to kind of provide a little bit of context, I went to a summer program and I met this blonde boy, and we both really liked Mortal Kombat X. And I was stubborn because I think that's my defining trait. I've joked, but I do mean it. Like, I think I've been asked like either why do I stay or sort of like in this industry, and it's like because I'm Latina and I'm stubborn. Um, so yeah, that's I just never gave up, and I'm like rematch, 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 and whoopsie daisy, we ended up dating.
Oops.
Am I weeb alert? Absolutely. I have told people this, and I'm very vocal about it. Do not ask me, have you seen this anime? Assume that I have. I
Okay.
did not really have a social life growing up, so assume that I have seen the anime because I don't think you comprehend it. I was that one kid where like I would see like summer 2015 anime and then I would be watching them simultaneously,
Right, right.
right? Throughout all of middle school and high school. Plus the ones from 80s, 90s, 2000s, mid 2000s, um, so on and so forth. Top 5 anime. Number 5 would I know top 3 for sure. Black Lagoon, Helsing Ultimate, and Hell's Paradise.
Helsing Ultimate's a good one. A very good one.
Dude, Crispin Freeman like pops off in that one.
I do have to ask, who is your favorite in Fire Emblem Three Houses?
Like character or
Yeah, character.
ooh. See, the thing is, I also played Otome games, so I'm gonna be outing myself over like who I tend to choose, and it would be Felix.
Yep, I get
Yep,
it.
yep,
Automatically clicks. I
yep.
okay, I suck at turn-based combat, so I totally just treated that game like an Otome game.
Oh no, same because strategy. Who is she?
Right.
And honestly, like I think I married Sylvain first, but then Felix is one of those where like I don't know. It was one of those where he was a little too aggressive at first, and then I'm like, okay, sunderes are my trademark.
Right.
I better. How many times did I bid my husband with the chancla before he yielded to my courtship? Oh yeah. He rejected me at first, and then a couple years later, we sort of like rekindled, dated, and here we are. I honestly didn't beat him with a chancla, so that's my response to that. And let's see, Otome games. I feel like I think the Otome component really helped Fire Emblem though,
Yeah, I
and you
agree.
can definitely tell that like with every, because for example, like Awakening, it's like I don't know how to say it, but the confession scenes were more tender.
Hmm.
And then you get to Fire Emblem like Conquest or all of those, and then it's like fucking ASMR on your ears. You remember like the hardcore ASMR when they're like, like that very last line?
Right, right.
Yeah. So headphone users, beware when you're playing any of like the, what was it? Conquest Fates, and I'm forgetting the other one. But that generation of Fire Emblem games, it was okay. I recommend it because I love the entire franchise. But when they are confessing to you, it's like they put like the audio at its max.
Ultimate ASMR.
Yeah, nah, it was too much. I'm just like, can you tone it down? And then Fire Emblem Engage just doesn't have dating, and I'm like, wait, not that much.
I was joking. It was a joke.
It was a joke. Please bring back the husbandos. Sorry, as there were no chanclas in the fighting games. There was just I played Aaron Black. And even then, his Sub-Zero was too good. But yeah, I mean, Sid, I don't know if you have any questions. For me.
um, I guess this last part is promo time where you can talk about your works, whether published, in progress, or just in the idea stage. Anything that you're like
Hey,
excited about.
so NDA.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to be working with a lot of NDAs. Currently, I am looking for a full-time position, so studios hit me up. On a serious note, I mean, I have been looking for employment for a while, and I'm open to just about anything, be it narrative design, QA testing, marketing, and now I am being peer pressured in a good way to project management. So any of those, I'm down to try, and I have the qualifications for. And if you go to renaissancehatproductions.carrd.co, you are going to see my just everything that I'm doing with Renaissance Hat Productions, which is my narrative consultancy studio. And by that I mean it's just me. It is just me in the studio. We do have a project that's currently in development, and we are offering narrative consultancy services to other studios, and you can see which studios we are currently giving those services to in the website. Additionally, my main focus here is just career growth. Career growth and helping out my mentees, where in essence I offer mentorship services, but it's not just me hopping on a call and roasting your resume. We have Notion boards with calculators, tools, references, resources, 100 plus resources. I'm in 17 plus job boards, and I have the notifications on. So whenever I hear from those 17 plus job boards, I let all of my mentees know, hey, found a job for you. And what sets aside my career coaching from others is that rather than charging people 600 or 900 plus for one session, it's a flat fee of 150. And that includes unlimited sessions where if you need help with something like, hey Andrea, I'm messaging this recruiter, not sure if it sounds good, that's fine, let me know. Or hey, got this idea for a game, what do you think? Sure. Like, I am always there for my mentees and always willing to help out in any shape or form that I can, while still providing tools and not charging extra for them, and still providing both game related jobs that I find and also non gaming related, because I'm a realist and I understand that no matter how talented everyone in the chat and everyone honestly that's looking for a job is, this gaming industry has us waiting for months, whenever
Right.
we apply to a job. So I always make sure to provide a balance of here's like the gaming jobs that you qualify for, but also here are the jobs that can help you. Um, how do I say? Here are the jobs that can help you just pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Here's, your qualifications that you said, of what you were doing before gaming. Um, I just try to help my mentees both with realistic expectations about navigating the job hunt, and that includes, paying the bills while job hunting, while also being able to help, with like resume reviews, portfolio reviews, tools, access to a Notion board exclusive to people that sign up for those services. And yeah, do we have any questions actually about that? Because I feel like that was a lot of information.
Any questions? And of course, you can check out the link tree that I posted. And hold on, let me see if I can. Uh, where is it?
Sorry about that.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yep. We'll definitely be posting more content slash announcements coming up, so stay tuned for that.
All
Um
right. Well, if no one has any more questions, then we will be closing out the interview here. Thank you so much for joining me. It was very, very fun, and I feel like I learned a lot.
I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad that my brain was able to help some people, even if it's just a singular brain cell that's caffeinated.
It's always so fun to do these because I love getting to know other game devs and I love other people to help them get to know game devs. So, yeah. Yay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for joining. And yeah, I think now I will be ending the stream. So thank you all. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I do, the next interview is next week at 2:30 p.m. EST instead of 3, and it's on the 13th, right before Valentine's Day. And I will announce who it is later on my Twitter. So if you want to follow me, you can. Do I have like a command for this? I can't remember if I made a command. No, but you can go into my Discord and I will announce it there too. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Actually, let me just link my Twitter real quick. um, if, make sure to follow me. Make sure to follow Andrea. And yeah, I will end stream here. Bye bye.